So today's session will be quite short, and it will consist of short different, I think not connected to each other, topics. Like, for example, the first topic I want to talk about is the English voicing of different animes, and I was lucky that one of my first animes was Fairy Tale in its English voicing with its English voice cast, and that's wonderful because all the actors played extremely well. And later, when I watched different animes voiced in English, I could recognize the voices of different characters from Fairy Tale. So lots of animes were connected to each other for me by these voicing actors, because in movies it is possible to connect different movies by some actors who played in the same actors played in different movies, but in animes all the characters are drawn, all the characters are drawings, so it's not possible that some of them will appear in other animes, and the only thing that links these different animes are English voices. And for those who watch animes in original Japanese voicing plus English subtitles, these people could distinguish the Japanese actors voicing particular characters, and these people could also connect different animes by the Japanese actors who voiced particular characters in different animes. But for me, it's better going with English variant. So when I heard Overlord for the first time, okay, I'm not sure about for the first time. Yeah, I just liked the voice of English actor who portrayed Overlord in this anime series, because Overlord has so deep slow voice, and I liked it very much. And when I rewatched Fairy Tale again, at some point I met this character Ichi again. He was the, I don't know, guild master or something like that from the Blue Pegasus Guild, and Blue Pegasus Guild, Ichi, okay, or just master, I don't know. So when I heard his voice for the second time, I recognized that this voice belonged to Overlord. So that was really cool that I found this connection between two characters, Overlord and Ichi in Fairy Tale. Well, actually, I watched lots of animes where actresses from the main cast of Fairy Tale, those of them who voiced Lucy, Hatfilia, Wendy, Erza, maybe Juvia, and of course Mira Jane. They all appeared in different animes that I watched later, and it was really cool when I recognized by ear the voices. Sometimes I checked and I was surprised that this particular character was voiced by, let's say, Lucy or Erza. And for now, I can remember, for example, that Misaka from Railgun, certain scientific railgun, the main girl who was level 5 Esper or something, and possessed this railgun power. She was voiced by the same actress who voiced Wendy in Fairy Tail. And some other stuff. Actually, I don't remember much of these connections now, because I watched all this series when I met all these familiar voices maybe 3 years ago. So it's hard for me to remember all this stuff, but it's really cool when I recognize at some point the familiar voice. It's like I see the actor playing in some new movie, and I knew this, and I know this actor from the movie that I watched some time ago, and I liked this movie, so this is quite cool. Another interesting fact about voicing animes in English is that I watched Muscles and Magic in Japanese voicing with subtitles, because when I watched the first episode, I liked it so much that I read the whole manga, and I quickly read all 100 and I think 20 chapters for the moment, and I was like ongoing reader, and then maybe 3 or 4 weeks later the manga was finished, so I witnessed the end of this cool manga the same way I witnessed the end of the Attack on Titan manga. But going back to Marshall, so I watched the first episode, then I read the whole manga, then I watched the second episode when it was aired a week later, and when the first English dubbed episode was released of Marshall, I think I was at the 5th or at the 6th Japanese episode, and I liked the voices of the characters so much, especially the voice of Marshall, and this girl, I don't remember her name now, who always who proclaimed herself Marshall's wife. So I liked them all quite much, and when I decided to give it a try and check the English dub voicing of martial anime. I didn't like the way they voiced Marshall. I just didn't like his voice, tone, and other characteristics of his voice. So I skipped all this anime, and when the second season of Marshall was aired, I watched it with subtitles in original Japanese audio. And the same goes with Solo Leveling anime. When it was released, the first 2 episodes, I watched them in subtitles, with the subtitles in Japanese original voicing. But when the first English dubbed episode was released, I was quite on my way along the first season. But when I decided to check the English version, I didn't like the voice of the main character compared to the voice of Japanese actor who acted this Sang-woo guy. And later I checked and I found out that Marshall and this Solo Leveling guy were voiced by the same English speaking actor. So I didn't like the same actor for 2 different roles, for 2 different characters. The same way I sometimes liked voice in one anime and then in some other anime, and then I checked these voices and they both belonged to the same English actor or the actress. So this is an interesting fact. But let's say One Punch Man anime I watched in English from the start, and I like all the English voicing cast very much, especially Saitama and Genos guy and all other characters. But Saitama and Genos are just so cool in this English dub version that I didn't try to check them in the original Japanese version. So I think that's all what I wanted to say about English and Japanese voicing of animes. And the next topic I want to talk about is some commercials that were made in 1990s by a Russian director Timur Bekmakbetov, and he created several commercials for the Bank Imperial that was popular at the time, but later this bank kind of went bankrupt. But these commercials stayed in the memory of people who watched them in 1990s on TV, and these commercials are available on YouTube. So I remembered about them maybe 3 years ago and rewatched 2 years ago and rewatched them. There are not so many commercials, maybe 5, something like that, but I remembered only 3 of them. So I'm going to talk about the plot of these commercials. And the first one, which I remember very well and I liked it very well, is set somewhere in the empress's maybe palace in St. Petersburg, when I think Empress Catherine II gave some celebration dinner for the main, I don't know, aristocrats of the country, and one of the guys who sat at the table was Suvorov Alexander Vasilyevich, and he just sat at the table and he didn't eat anything, but other people, other aristocrats around him ate a lot, and the servants brought new dishes and took away the emptied dishes, but he just sat in front of his plate and didn't eat anything. And then Catherine II noticed it, and she asked him why he didn't eat anything. And Suvorov answered that it was prohibited to eat before the first star, and this way he mentioned the bias or something from the Orthodox Christianity, that Russian people, that at Christmas, at the night before Christmas, Russian people gathered at the homes. They gathered around the tables, and the tables were set with the best dishes they could allow themselves, and they waited till the first star in the sky appeared, because this star symbolized the star of Bethlehem, and this was the star that showed the sages from 3 different countries where Jesus was born. And Russian people had this custom of having of not eating for the week that preceded Christmas Day, and they could start eating after they saw the first star in the sky. So Alexander Vasilyevich Suvorov said this fact, told this fact to Catherine II, but he also meant that he was expecting the star as the medal that Catherine II should give to him for his successful military actions. So, referencing the first star, he was ambiguous because he referenced the Russian Russian Christian custom, and he referenced the fact that he should be avoided for his actions during maybe the last year or something. And Empress Catherine II valued his joke, and she ordered to bring a star to Alexander Vasilievich. So this whole dialogue and this whole setting was so cool that I remembered this commercial since I last watched it. Maybe it was somewhere in 2000 year. So for 20 years this commercial set was situated in my mind, in my memory, and I remembered about this line from Alexander Vasilievich from time to time, especially when time came to Christmas. Yeah, so this is one of his commercials, and it's really good. And the second commercial, which I remember as well, but it's not so cool. It's more about history, yeah. And I remembered it only after I watched it on YouTube, together with this Alexander Vasilievich first star. And the commercial was about Tamerlan, I think Tamerlan, and when he gathered his huge army and went somewhere to conquer the new territories, each of his warriors put a white stone on the ground at some point. And when they went to this battle, the huge pile of white stones was collected on the ground. And when they returned victorious from the battle, each of the warriors who rode the horseback past this pile of stones, each warrior took the white stone and went forward. And when Tamerlan took was the last in this I don't know, in this row queue of warriors who took the stone from the pile, there were still lots of white stones, and this pile of remaining stones symbolized the number of people from his army who died during this victorious battle. And then there was something in this commercial, like Tamerlan kneeled in front of this pile of stones, and he talked to the stones as to the souls of his warriors who died, and something like he remembered all of them. Yeah. And something like this pile of stones stayed when the warriors died, and the Bank Imperial would stay forever, something like that. I didn't remember this because there was not so cool story in this historical fact, but the idea of putting stones and taking the stones from the pile I remembered quite well, because I remembered remember this visual representation of the pile of stones made of white stones. And the third, and I think the most, the coolest commercial from Bekmakbetov that I remembered and I liked, and it was about some medieval time, maybe the 20th century, and somewhere in Europe, maybe on the territory of contemporary Germany, some I don't know who, not king, but somehow some aristocrat with his army. They fought against some other army, and they surrounded the town, the enemy town, and they created this siege, and people in the town had nothing to eat, nothing to drink, so it was famine, and they could, all the people in the town could just died, and they didn't want to surrender to the enemy who surrounded the town. And then this aristocrat of the surrounding army, he said that he allowed that he would allow women from this town just went pass free. He would allow women from the town to pass free along the road to leave this town, because this was the man's business, and he wanted to fight against warriors, against men who were in this town, but women should go free. It was kind of the business of honor for him. And then he said that women could take anything that they can carry. They could they could take so much things from this town as they could carry. And then the best line of this commercial went. The narrator said that when the gates of this town opened, this aristocrat saw that all the women walked out of these gates, and they carried their wounded husbands and their wounded sons on their backs. And the last woman who walked in this row of people was the I don't know the word for this, like she was the wife of the aristocrat of the enemy, of this enemy town, yeah, and she carried his husband on her back. She was maybe 20 years old, and she carried her wounded husband on her back. And she looked at this aristocrat who surrounded the town as he walked past him. As she walked past, she walked by him, and she walked forward carrying his wounded husband on her back. And when this winning victorious aristocrat saw this woman, he stopped the siege of the town, and he made the peace agreement with this town, with this country, because this women had so great impact on his mind, on his experience in life. So it is a really cool commercial, and it was made as the real historical movie. And I should say that Russian directors couldn't create such good historical movies after the end of the Soviet Union as this particular historical commercial was made. So that's why I remembered this commercial so well, and when I watched it 2 years ago, I had the same impression of it as I had when I watched it maybe 20 years ago. And that's why this Bekmakbetov moved to Hollywood, and he made there a couple of movies. The first one was Wanted with, I think, McAvoy actor and Angelina Jolie, and Bekmakbetov created some unique kind of science fiction world when some particular people could get into the state when their heart beated with 400 times a minute, and in this state they could perform some superhuman actions, like they could move their guns in special way, in special trajectories, and then when they shoot this gun, moving it this special way, the bullet that went out of the gun, it didn't go straight forward as the usual bullets went, but this bullet could go in some spiral trajectories, like going around some objects in front of them. And at some point, I think the McAvoy's character moved this gun, and he shot the guy who was shielded by Angelina Jolie's character, who was standing in front of McAvoy. And when he shot the bullet using this spiral trajectory, it went around Angelina Jolie and killed the guy standing in front of her. It was quite a unique movie for America in general, but it wasn't so impressive. So it gets some moderate box office, and Bekmakbetov was set to make the remake of Ben-Gur, this epic movie that was based on Ben-Gur book and was created in 1958, I think. And Ben-Gur movie became one of the main American movies that were aired each Christmas. The way our Russian Slyukhim Parum, made by Ryazanov, is aired for each New Year for the last, I don't know, maybe for the last 40 years. Yeah. So Bekmakbetov should have made the remake for this epic classical movie Ben-Gur, and he had, I don't know, maybe $100 of dollars, and his logic was that all the Americans, every Christmas all the Americans watched only first 5 or 10 minutes of Ben-Gur that has 2 hours of runtime, and the Americans switch to the other channels. So Bekmakbetov wanted to put kind of all the money into the first maybe 20-30 minutes of this movie, and the rest of the movie had to be just some mediocre something, because Americans would never watch the rest of the movie. But somehow he created a very bad version of this Ben-Gur thing, and I think even now Americans continue to watch the original Ben-Gur every Christmas, and Bekmakbetov's career in Hollywood went to some halt. I didn't hear about anything new from him for the last maybe 10 years. So he was he was a great director who created these cool commercials for Bank Imperial in 1990s, and he created 2 movies, Night Watch, based on Lukyanenko's books Night Watch, and these movies were really cool. They were the kind of the representations of how Hollywood could make Russian-oriented movies. And when these movies were aired in the cinemas, people went to them instead of going to American movies that were aired at the same time. So the Hollywood bought the rights to direct the 3rd movie of this Night Watch, and they never created the movie. They just kind of prevented Bekmakbetov from creating the 3rd movie in this trilogy, and kind of making some achievements for Russian cinema. And after that, Bekmakbetov moved to Hollywood, and he directed Wanted, Most Wanted, or Just Wanted, with Angelina Jolie and McAvoy, and it was quite alright. But then he created Ben-Gur, and it wasn't alright. Yeah. So this is the second topic I wanted to talk about, and it was about Bekmakbetov. And Mingur failed. And I think the last topic I want to talk about for today is the movie Speed with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. It was made in 1994, and it became the international hit. No one expected this movie to be so successful, and this movie even got to Oscars, first for the music itself, and second for the cutting of the music, because really the music created maybe the half or more than the half of the action on the screen, with all this running bus and all the stuff that this bus should go around, outrun, and other stuff. And music helped to keep the viewer in this tension for the whole time of the movie. So I wanted to tell about some small facts, like when they decided to take to find the actress for the role of the girl who would drive the bus after the bus driver was shot. They considered some actresses, but they thought that these actresses couldn't just accidentally be at some bus, so that they went to the driver's seat and started to drive the bus, because all these actresses were quite famous and they usually used only their own cars. So they found the girl who was not so famous, like Sandra Bullock, and she had the appearance of the girl who could just go and take the bus and to become the main character in these events. So it was the decision why they decided to take her for this role. And an interesting fact that Sandra Bullock got her first Oscar in 2009, and for some biographic sport drama. I don't know the content. I didn't watch the movie, but I know that she got she played the main role and she got Oscar. But the interesting fact was that this year, the same year, sometime earlier, she had won the Golden Raspberry Award, and this award is given to the actresses and actors whose roles were the worst during this year. So she played at some comedy all about Steve, and I watched this comedy. It's quite dull comedy, but it's not so bad to my opinion, and I liked it when I watched it once. But critics awarded Sandra Bullock with the Golden Raspberry Award for this movie, and it was the well-known fact that actors who got the Golden Raspberry never won Oscar at the same year. So, though she was nominated for Oscar, she had won this Golden Raspberry, and nobody thought that she would get her first Oscar during this year. So it was a surprise for her and for everybody who made predictions what actress would get the Oscar of 2009. And this is quite an interesting fact. I watched this fact somewhere in the TV show, rare TV show that maybe some American documentary TV show that told some facts about biographies of different people, and I never found this TV show in English and in Russian. I never found it anywhere except for that moment when I watched it. So these facts about the choice for putting Sandra Bullock into Speed movie, or this maybe controversy or between getting Oscar and Raspberry Pi at the same year, is just unique facts that I couldn't find anywhere else except except for my mind. So that's all what I wanted to talk about in this English session, and that's all for today.